yeah, so I'm talking about token economies too, and I wanted to talk about them because um on this Facebook group, it's like special education teachers, something or other. Um, Someone posted about how they hated token economies, and then someone else posted this article about how they don't work. And so I read the article, and it was I'll pull it up because it was one, your child doesn't care about earning tokens. So there's lots of kids who don't care about earning tokens.
Yeah.
They don't work because you lose track of what they're earning, and it's too hard to give out the tokens. Your child gets very upset when they don't earn the tokens.
Mm.
Your token system isn't fair to the other kids.
Ah.
And your child starts losing out um, and isn't motivated anymore by the tokens.
Mm.
And so I was reading this, and there were all these teachers going, that's true, that's true. Token economies are bad. And they just went off about intrinsic motivation again.
Mm.
And so I thought the problem with this is one, they don't understand ABA, right? They don't understand reinforcement. I've seen that like across the board, like people don't understand reinforcement. They really think it is the sticker. Um, and so if your kid isn't motivated by the token, one of two things have happened, right? You either didn't teach the token, right? Because there's a teaching phase involved with establishing a token economy. The kid has to see that there's value. Or um, you didn't figure out what is reinforcing for that kid. You just put out a treasure chest and thought that all of the kids should earn it because you bought it off of Amazon or whatever. But in reality, there's a lot of kids in there that go through that treasure chest and think, why would I work towards this, right?
Mm.
And so I thought, it is so important for um, teacher education. What you're doing is so important because um, I think that token boards have value. I think they definitely work, but they need to be done correctly, right? And I think that they're not the end all be all, right? They're part of an entire intervention package, right? And so the issues that I've seen with teachers is one, they did not individualize the reinforcer. They didn't figure out beforehand what this kid is motivated by. And they are not giving the token for the right behavior. I've seen a
Mm.
lot of teachers hand out tokens like at the end of class if the kid was not annoying or some would like in void of the behavior. If the child wasn't engaging in something,
Like a DRO.
right? But that's not. You need to be shaping a replacement behavior. That's what token boards are for. They're for shaping a replacement behavior and not the lack of a behavior. Because
Mm.
the behavior is serves a purpose, right? The behavior has a function, and if you don't replace that with a uh, appropriate behavior that serves the same function, then you're not going to get rid of the maladaptive or irritating behavior, right? And so,
Well, I think there. So on page, because I read that on page 657, it does talk about how from the top where it says that token economies, and this is like from Mentally, Overly, and Robeson, where they talk about how you could use differential reinforcement of other behavior in a token economy. But I definitely hear what you're saying, where I've always understood it as like we want to reinforce the presence of a behavior
mhm.
because we're looking to teach a skill. But I guess when I would use it in differential reinforcement of other behavior, I would say like maybe like behavior that's like unsafe. Like if the kid is like harming themselves or running out of the room, I would say as long as you're in the room, you get a token. Because we want to just keep them in there. But no, that was something that I read. I was like, that was an aha. So I just want to kind of cue you in on that section there, because I think there's an option to use DRO with token.
So that's differential of the other behavior.
Yeah. So differential reinforcement of other behavior would be. That's what it says here. Yeah. So like it says. These schedules of reinforcement represent internal mechanisms of a token economy that can be arranged using a number of basic reinforcement schedules. For example, fixed ratio and variable, or complex schedules like differential reinforcement of other behavior.
Right, you would have to. That's what I'm saying, is that you have to reinforce another alternative behavior.
No, because that would be DRA. That would be differential reinforcement of alternative behavior. So differential reinforcement of other behavior is reinforcing any other behavior besides the behavior that's the problem behavior.
That's not reinforcing no behavior. And see, and that is the issue, and that doesn't, when you reinforce a lack of behavior, nothing, then that behavior is not a target behavior, because it doesn't pass the dead man's test. If a dead man can stay in the room, then it can't be a target behavior. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. No, it can't be a target behavior. No.
Right. And so I think that's the issue, and then the main problem with that is the kid doesn't know what they're being reinforced for.
Right.
So, like at the end of the class, they received a token because they didn't shout out, but then they didn't give that child, they didn't reinforce them with a behavior that provided them with the same function as shouting out. And so the fact that shouting out didn't occur then doesn't mean it won't occur in the future, because they didn't provide that kid with a different behavior. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. I see what you're saying.
And so the token board isn't going to work, because you're never going to be able to give that kid tokens, because you're not actually reinforcing a behavior that is the same purpose or function. Yeah.
So in the book, there's a section that I found really interesting. It's on page. I keep referencing the book. I don't know if you have the book in front of me. Mm-hmm. I apologize if I just keep making these random references. But there's this coupons for cursing. It's like kind of a little narrative. It's on the bottom of page 661, and it talks about how this teacher would give kids each 10 coupons, and then every time that a curse word was said, she would tell the students to rip off one of the coupons and put it on her desk. And at the end of the day, the more coupons you had, the more you could buy. So she wasn't teaching appropriate language. She was, I guess, and she was using punishment, right? Because she was removing response cost, is what it was, right? So she was if you showed that inappropriate behavior, then it cost you something. But it did let kids know, because at the end it says how the cursing diminished, because kids were not wanting to lose those coupons, because they wanted to be able to redeem them for items.
So she was giving them coupons, every curse word they used, they got more?
No, so each kid got 10, just non-contingently. Like, here's 10 to start off with. And then for every curse word, you lose one. And at the end, if you have 8, then you can shop with 8. If you're down to 1, you got 1.
Okay.
So she wasn't teaching appropriate use of language, or trying to think what would be another skill. Getting teachers' attention appropriately. She was just consequencing kids.
Right.
But no, I hear you though, because then the kid leaves, goes to another classroom where that's not in place. Right. And it's like, well, he gave me a reason to not say F you.
Right.
And now
and so,
I don't know why.
Like, so what's the function of cussing, right? What is the function of cussing? She didn't address that at all. She just she just played a game with them that isn't going to change their behavior in any way, shape, or form. Once she stops, and after a while, the kids are not going to care.
Yeah.
It's not anything you'd ever be able to feed.
Right. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I apologize.
No, that's okay. And so I guess it made me sad because I think it's a great tool, but it needs to be done right. And clearly there was a lot of teachers that weren't going to do it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I and all the points that you listed, and if you could send me that article, I would love it, because
Sure.
that's the challenge that we have in the concept of save the world with ABA, is that there's the field of education is hesitant to say that these things work, because they've been unsuccessful with it. And that's the problem with interventions that are not done right, is that after a while you're like, I'm done trying these ideas, like this new hot idea of token economy. No, I'm not going to do it. But those roadblocks are real. And again, it's not because they don't love kids, or they don't want to do right by kids. It's because in their mind, it doesn't work. It's their reality. It doesn't work. So those are real concerns that we need to with ABA, is say, like, no, like, let me tell you, each of those concerns are valid, but here's why they're not true.
I think it was just a lack of understanding.
List.
There's a lot of people trying to use ABA. Sometimes they don't even know that they're using ABA. And they don't understand reinforcement. They really don't understand reinforcement.